probably after.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the whole background here, that's like one giant blanket, like a dark brown blanket that's hanging on a clothes rack. And then I got a GoPro like gooseneck clamp with a little like shitty battery light. It's probably gonna die halfway through this
Yeah.
podcast.
That's fine.
Um, as like a hair light, and then that or can't even see that black looking piece behind the monitors is another blanket. But yeah, this whole room is unfinished. Like it looks so janky, but I
I
mean,
can't
you
even
wouldn't,
tell. I
you
can't. I
can't
just see
even
the
tell.
lamp and the creative craftsman. It's pretty sweet.
So, yeah, man. Thanks for coming on
Yeah.
and
Thanks
being
for having
my little
me.
kind of
Guinea pig.
test dummy for all this.
Yeah,
Like I
hopefully it
said,
works well. I mean, it seems to be working well so far.
I
It's
I
pretty
hope
sweet.
so. We'll
Yeah.
see. But what's the last few months looked like for you, dude?
It's been a little crazy. It's been a little bit of a transition period for me. I'm now in Charlotte, North Carolina, right now. I just moved
Okay.
up here Friday,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
kind of getting everything sorted. Like literally right before I hopped on, I was building this little Walmart desk just until like my big desk comes in from Amazon. So this thing is janky, but it works. I'm
What?
like I'm not one to edit on a couch, so it's I have to have a desk.
Well,
But
based on some of the stories I see you post during the season, you're editing on anything and everything.
yeah, cars, back of the truck is pretty much the most popular spot for me to edit throughout the season, but I edit the best on desks and stuff. But the last few months in the off season, we call it, it's
Yeah,
crazy. It looks like it's been crazy for you too, to be honest.
yeah, in a good way. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, it's been a good fall, dude. Like, the traveling hasn't been a thing, which is nice. Like, obviously, with the baby and stuff. So, been sticking around here, shooting a lot with a waterfowl outfitter out here. And he was actually my first paid client. And we've kind of rolled together, and he's brought me on every year to help him out with just like social media and stuff. And
Right.
that's grown in a good way over the last, like, shit, 6, 7 years, something like that. So, he's still keeping me around, so I guess I'm
Yeah.
doing
Guess
okay, which is good.
no, I've seen some of the stuff. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. What are you doing up in North Carolina now?
I just, I really, it not in a bad way, but I needed to get away from South Florida. Just
Yeah.
kind of get, my parents live up here about 45 minutes away. My sister lives close, so I'm kind of near family. And I don't know, I just needed to kind of branch out a little bit. I'm still working for Scott, not full time, but kind of part time, doing some contract work with him, that kind of thing. I'll be on the tour at least most of the year. We have a new guy, his name's Corbin, who we're kind of
Okay.
testing out right now. He'll eventually, hopefully, take over the production um,
Okay.
of the tournament series, but we didn't want to like go cold turkey because
Yeah.
we kind of have something going, and we just didn't want to ruin something like that. And I agreed, and it was good to um, kind of do that for the transition year. Um, but yeah, I just want to. It's been 5 years with Scott. It's been nothing but awesome. We've done a lot of great things, traveled a lot of cool places, but I felt kind of stagnant. So I wanted to get out of my comfort zone a little bit, move to a new city, and maybe take on some different industries. See what I can do in some different industries. So I have some things in the works. I just gotta
Yep.
feel them out. So
Dude, that's exciting. I had no clue.
yeah, I
I
kind of kept it
had,
in wraps. Like a few people knew,
yeah.
but I didn't feel the need to put it out there. It was just
Well,
kind of
yeah. That's I mean, that's exciting, dude. At the same time, it's probably tough, but it takes a lot of courage to make a bit of a jump and transition in life. So good on you, man.
yeah. It's a little scary, but I think it's for the better. For career wise, I think it's for the better.
Yeah.
So
Shit, we just progressed probably an hour into this whole podcast because I was gonna get down to like
what we
what
could,
you're doing and kind of what the
yeah.
future's looking like for you. But since we're on the topic, like what's kind of the vision for you then? Like why make the move? What are you hoping to do? What's kind of the future looking like for you?
I mean, I set a goal for 2025 to try and work in 4 or 5 different industries just to branch out and see if anything sticks, if I like anything better. Because I've worked in fishing for the last 5 years, been
Yeah.
around it. Um, Maybe got a little burnt out on it, And as a creative, that's never good to get burnt out. But and you never want your work to reflect that. And I personally felt like it was. So I don't know. It's just got to try something different. But
Yeah,
there's no hard feelings between Scott and I. He understands fully, and
of course.
I'm still gonna be doing his production for like the TV show. I edit all of that. I don't know. Not many people probably know that.
I knew that.
Yeah.
That was my first question I was going to ask you, but
Yeah,
keep going.
that's a whole different side of things compared
Yeah,
to what we do normally is YouTube. The TV productions. It's cool. A little more. I don't know what the word is, but like I don't know. It's just not on a whim. It's kind of
yeah,
more structured, so
yeah,
it's
for
good.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, that gets right into, I mean, obviously you're transitioning away from it a little bit, but dude, how in the hell were you managing the Elite series, all the production for like his YouTube channel in general for Scott Martin, if anybody doesn't know, um, for all the Elite series episodes that you put out, for any of like the miscellaneous YouTube episodes that you guys put up of fishing adventures and whatever else you guys get into, uh, all of his social content, the friggin' TV show, like, what does that look like?
Uh, it's a grind, that's for sure, and
Dude,
it helped me progress in my work though. Being in that grind helped me like try and get better every day. With so much work to work on, it just allowed me to kind of get better. But it's tough. Your social life is lacking for sure, which is kind of a
yeah,
reason I moved to a bigger city like this in Charlotte, and just to get out and kind of hang out with people my age. I had one friend in Clewiston, and it was a small town, and it was a great
dude,
town. I love Clewiston; it'll always have a place in my heart. But
yeah.
it was a grind. It's kind of the word I can use to explain it.
So were you like one man banding it, or did you guys have editors that you would bring on to like edit the TV show side of things, or was it just McCoy doing every single bit of production, shooting
Uh,
and editing?
yeah. Well, for TV shows, we usually kind of hire a second guy, second
Okay.
camera to kind of get a cross shot. But we've had a few people come in, like Dylan. I don't know if you ever worked with Dylan
Yeah.
when he was in the elites.
Yeah.
He was with us for about 2 years, and he kind of moved out to Texas. He's doing his own thing. He's doing real good now, so he'd be almost one to have on. He's a really really good kid. I grew up with him.
Awesome.
And then we had Mac Green kind of come on and help us out too with
Yep.
shooting, editing for the most part with like um, the YouTube side of things. I handled the tournament stuff kind of fully. It
Yeah.
was kind of I don't know if I'm like maybe a little bit of a control freak with it. I just want to
I
have it
get
my
it.
way, and it's
Yeah.
kind of hard to trust someone new coming in. But they would help here and there with like social content and smaller YouTube videos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then TV wise, we for my first 3 years, 2 or 3 years, we had another like production company handling the editing that was before my time too.
Okay.
And about I think this is my third season with the TV. I've been editing it full time, so we've it hasn't fully been on me, but
Yeah.
it's it's been good.
That's still a lot, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of have an off season a little bit from the fish and stuff, which I personally like. But for you and what you guys got going on, it never ends. I'd see you guys in between tournaments going like you're not going home. You're either staying where we're at or going to a location a few hours away and shooting a show, like a TV show outside of the Elite Series shows that you guys are doing. Like, there's
Yeah.
a crazy amount
Yeah.
of shooting, and then obviously the editing starts stacking up and everything too. But
Yeah.
um, I was
Somehow I juggled it though. I don't know how, but
it's insane. Good on you. I want to know, like, because I know for me, if I was in that position, I need things on a calendar. I need things scheduled out. I need Kanban boards with like to do, in progress, on hold, done. Like, I'm very like analytical when it comes to that to plan things out. a lot of my planning kind of got thrown out the window with the whole baby situation and being
Yeah.
out of commission for almost a month this year, which backed things up. But we're back on track. But for you, managing all that, like what does the pre-production or like production planning for the year look like for you guys? Like, do you have a set time during the year where you both sit down and you're like, okay, here's everything that we need to get done, and you guys map it out, or is it kind of fly by the seat of your pants throughout the year? What does that look like?
It's a healthy mix. Obviously, like when we're on the road, sometimes things get thrown out of loop, and I don't know. He needs to go home for some reason, so we don't end up shooting some TV shows after tournaments. But we'll usually sit down. Like we haven't sat down for 26 yet. We're shooting 2025 shows still as we speak.
Yeah.
We shot them all last year, but we'll sit down and kind of plan out like, hey, we're going to be here. Let's try and shoot a show here.
Okay.
Shoot two shows and try and line up people for those shows. But it's still kind of rough, like still subject to change. So we have sort of a structure, like we know what we want to do. We know some trips that we're going to go on throughout the year, but other than that, it things just kind of pop up, and we'll just try and do something. Like I don't know, it's like I said, it's a kind of a mix of things, and with how much like we're on the road, like you were talking about earlier, like between tournaments we're shooting and stuff. I mean, I credit that all to Scott and just his work ethic. It's just he's a grinder, like
Yeah.
he's a grinder, and that's why he's so successful in what he's doing. He just, I think he gets a little antsy when he's not filming and not working, as do I. So like if
Yeah.
I'm like these last few days I've been moving in, I've been like, man, I need to edit, like I need to do something, and I feel lazy, and I think that's something that's rubbed off on me from Scott. Just
Yeah.
it's just the way he is, and he's always been that way, and that's why he's so successful. So
Yeah.
he's been a great mentor for the last 5 years, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah.
What other things have you picked up being around someone like that? Like, I've personally been around a number of people like that, and you're right. Like you feed off of that, you pick it up, and you're like, damn, like I could get a lot more done than I think I can.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that's kind of rubbed off you in the last 5 years?
It's been real interesting to see like the business side of the bass fishing industry and how all that works. And I'm not super involved with like sponsorship contracts and all that. We have a guy that does that, but giving deliverables and talking to the clients is something that I handle a little bit. So that side of things is it's you realize how small the fishing industry is.
Yep.
See, when you go to ICAST and stuff like that and talking to the people, and pretty much for the most part, everyone's like awesome in the fishing industry. I have no complaints.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's one thing I noticed, man. Like when I was coming in to shoot the first season, 2 years ago for Lee, that was one thing that I wasn't sure about. Like I hadn't met you, I hadn't met any of the other shooters really. Been to a couple classics before that when I was working with American Bait Works, and kind of knew of people but didn't really know people. And the one thing that I was super surprised about after that 2-week stint in Florida 2 years ago was how like supportive everybody is. Dude, it's crazy. Like you, Kyle, like guys were reaching out, giving props on like little things that I was putting up once the episodes were coming out. Like all you guys were like the first ones to like hype me up that it's looking good and all this stuff. And then everyone would reach out saying if you need any help, like I'm always here. Like have you seen a lot of that too on your end?
Right.
And I notice it in the whole industry as a whole, even on the hunting side too.
Yeah, it's kind of it's really unique how all of us kind of the cameramen we mesh together. We're all kind of the same mindset, and we're all just great people. Like you mentioned Kyle, like he's probably one of my mentors, and just he's taught me so much and given me a lot of advice and everything, because he's been there far before my time.
Yeah.
And we were originally kind of the only 2, maybe 3 or 4 of us were there. And it's crazy just to see how many guys there are now that have camera guys, and just the production quality that everyone's putting out is
it's crazy, dude.
Like, wow. It's kind of
But
cool.
it's awesome because like I personally got into fishing kind of later. I was focused on hockey all the time. Like that's all I cared about. Had dreams of playing D1, just like wasn't good enough and wasn't didn't do the work that I needed to do to get
Yeah,
there.
I know.
But then all of a sudden fishing came into my life, and that was like one of the first things that I gravitated towards was like these documentary style fishing, like little series that you'd see on YouTube. Like FLW Circuit Breaker was one of the first ones that I saw
Yeah.
that was like, dude, this is crazy, this is so cool. And like it was at that same time that I kind of started getting into a lot of the video and photo and all, like trying to learn about that stuff too. So it was like a perfect marriage. But seeing the quality of stuff that everyone's pumping out nowadays is unreal.
Yeah.
So for someone like me who like that was me sitting down watching all that stuff, and now to be on the other side of it and actually producing it and putting it out there is really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's super awesome to see everything. And like like me, you said you played hockey and then you kind of got into fishing after hockey.
Yep.
That's exactly the way it went for me. Like I was
No,
into hockey,
really?
kind of like juniors, and then tried to go D1 and never really was, like you said, good enough. And
Yeah.
then I picked up fishing, and it's weird how exactly
That's
what
crazy.
you explained is kind of how I got into it as well.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Was there any like specific moment that got you interested? Because for me, I didn't grow up fishing. I didn't. I always joke. I can't remember if I told Mercer this or not, but I remember when I was growing up on Saturdays, I'd be watching like TSN highlights or whatever,
Yeah.
hockey, catch up on the week, and friggin' Mercer's show, Facts of Fishing, would come on, and right away I'd be like, nope, like
Yeah.
next channel, dude, fishing boring. What the hell? I don't want to watch this. And then now I'm like on the other side of it. It's hilarious how it
Yeah.
all came together. And now I love it. I watched his show this morning. It came out
Yeah.
on Sportsnet 360 here in Canada at 9 a.m. I had a reminder in my phone to watch it, watch the whole thing, and I love it. Like it's insane how much it changes.
Yeah.
So was there a particular moment though that kind of got you into the fishing?
I wouldn't say like a moment, but I had grown up kind of fishing like a local lake in Pennsylvania. Nothing crazy. We don't have great bass fishing in Pennsylvania. We don't have a lot of big lakes, at least where I grew up. So I was kind of into it, and I wanted to learn more. So I started to watch YouTube videos, as a lot of the kids in my generation have.
Yep.
And eventually was introduced to the Guggen Squad, all those guys, and
Mm-hmm.
then just fell in love with that, and just kind of binged all that. And that's how I kind of wanted to do my own thing, like on YouTube. And then that somehow transitioned into I want to be behind the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the rest is history. I started filming some other people, and that's eventually how I built a portfolio to then pitch to Scott when he was looking for someone to get the
Yeah.
job. So it was, yeah. There wasn't a particular moment, I wouldn't say. It was just kind of a gradual deal. Like I had always liked fishing, but then just kind of fell in love with it after my love of hockey kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you were, but when you go so hard into something and you're doing it 6 days a week, it's like
Yep.
you get burnout.
Oh yeah.
You kind of almost pick up something else.
Yeah.
And not to say that's where I'm at right now with it, with the fishing, but I'm kind of close. But this little break has been good.
Yeah.
Kind of getting burnt out on the fishing, and just want to move into something different and see if I like that.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
I want to dive into that more, but before I forget, I wanted to ask. So we were talking about all the guys being super supportive. When you started out, and even now, like, did you run into a lot of imposter syndrome? And how did kind of the support of the guys kind of free you from that? Because, dude, I've dealt with it from the moment I started shooting with Lee, and even before that. And dude, I deal with it every day. Like I'm always thinking that, oh my god, anytime you guys put out episodes, it's like, oh shit, like my stuff's terrible. Like what am I doing out here? I don't know what I'm doing. Like what I suck. Like all this stuff. A lot of that, like, not bad self-talk, but just in the back of your head, you're like, I'm not good enough type of deal. Like, do
Yeah.
you deal with that as well?
All the time. Same
Yeah.
as I dealt with it when I started, before I started, and still every day I'm just like, I see you end up subconsciously comparing yourself to everyone else. Like you scroll through Instagram and
Yeah.
all the stuff. Like, dang, Jesse just posted that. I'm like, oh my god, that was so good. Like, I didn't think of capturing it that way, but
Yeah.
I think in a way it helps you grow.
Yeah.
Because if you're content with your work, you're never going to get better
Yeah.
in a way. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's you need to talk good to yourself and think your stuff's good, but you don't want to be content,
Yes.
get complacent. Then.
Yeah.
So I
No,
think, yeah,
it's true, man. Like Instagram's funny because it's such a good tool to get inspiration. Like I use Instagram kind of like Pinterest. Like I'll save posts if
Mm,
there's like real ideas or like certain fishing videos where oh shit like that's a good idea for a 30-second ad piece or something. Like I always save them so I
right,
can reference them later when I'm doing pre-production for a project. But at the same time, there's that other side of it where you're you're just getting flooded with it all day long about how many people are doing it
yeah,
and then how good people are and thinking that there's not enough work out there for me and all this stuff. But what I've kind of learned in a way is that there's always there's always another level to this game, and it applies to anything in life too. Like there's always the next level above me. There's or what we do. There's like guys who do like commercial work for bigger bigger brands. They got giant sets. They're managing a number of people, all this stuff, and then above that, it's like okay, now you're into big like TV show type productions, and then above that, you're producing movies and you're on friggin' Spielberg's level, and all. So there's like there's
yeah,
always another level that you can get to, but you almost got to be happy with where you are right now. Like I got a roof over my head, I'm able to pay
right,
my bills, I got my family I'm taking care of. Like I'm happy with that, and I'm doing cool shit that I love to do.
yeah,
So it's trying not to compare myself all the time has been a tough one to get over, but I think I'm getting better with it for sure.
yeah. And I'm sure there's guys like at the top where we would call the top. I bet they deal with it every day too.
100%.
I don't think you can get away from it, unfortunately.
Yeah. And
So
then a lot of those guys that are at those higher levels, all of a sudden they got a team of 30 people or something that they're managing, or they're running a big agency, and all of a sudden they move from being behind the camera and behind the editing suite, and they're just managing people. And then in the back of their heads, they're like, damn, look at what we're doing. One man band type deals where they're just rolling with whatever they want and having fun with it. Like, I wish I was doing that again. So
yeah,
you just got to be happy where you're at. And obviously you're making some moves and stuff to make sure that you're keeping yourself happy as well. And I think that's super important. And I think a lot of people lose that a little bit, and you can get lost in it and get really down on yourself. But I think it's just important to look at where you're at, be happy, and just do the best
yeah,
you can with it. So
yeah. And that's kind of my nature too. Is just I don't know. Like I'm kind of on a whim kind of guy. So like this was hard to just to kind of step away full time from Scott and move up here. Uh,
hmm
but like I don't have a problem. Scott's gone for like the weekend. I'll just like book a flight to Costa Rica and just go down there and just hang
yeah,
out with people I don't know. For some reason in my head, like that, there's no anxiety in that. I do it.
yeah,
Done it 3 times this year.
I seen that. That's
And
where all did you go when you did? I seen Costa Rica what like twice, and then you went somewhere else wild.
yeah. Well, we were in Italy and
That's
then
right.
like Europe. We did that whole Europe tour
Yeah.
after the Black Bass World Championship. Um, so I just stayed over there for like a week afterwards.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Costa Rica that's probably one of my favorite places. But I plan this year to kind of go to some different places, and branch out a little bit.
That's sweet. So you would just do that solo.
Yeah, I just go, and the flight was like $200 from Fort Lauderdale. I just
Damn.
okay. There was one day I was like out with my buddy, and we were just cutting it up, and then I'm like, it's like midnight, and I'm like, Scott's away for the weekend. I'm like, I need to do something. Like I have this itch. I want to travel. So I was
Yeah.
like, well, let me see how much the flight like to Costa Rica is, and it was like 4 hours later. From that point, it was like 6 a.m. or something, and it was like $200. I was like, screw it, why not? It's just
That's
I
awesome.
literally drove home from Palm Beach and then drove right back to the airport and got on that flight and went down. Um, booked a rental car while I was sitting in the airport. It's just that was probably the most on a whim thing I've ever done, but probably
That's
one of the
pretty.
best trips I've ever been on.
Yeah.
Because I had no plan and it was great. It was good.
Did you stay in a hostel or something, or
I
you
did,
just?
yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of got a rental car and traveled around a little bit, um, and then went to a beach town called Tamarindo and stayed in
Yep.
a hostel there for a few days and just met, like, instantly when I got there, I met like a group of like 10 people that were just all doing the same thing I was
Yeah.
from different parts of the world, different countries, Canada, Mexico, everything. And we all just kind of meshed together. We ended up going to watch the sunset that night, and then for the rest of the week we hung out. It was
That's
just
awesome.
yeah. So I still talk to those people. It's friends for life. It's kind of weird. I love
Damn.
it. So
That's that's
and
pretty
that's just
cool.
something I can do because I'm single and I don't have a family. I have nothing tying me down. So
Yeah.
it's just my circumstance at the moment. So
Take advantage of it while you can, man.
yeah,
Even if I wanted to, I'd have like 3 weeks worth of planning I would have to do. It wouldn't cost me $200 flying out of
yeah,
Ottawa here in
yeah,
Canada. It would cost me 2 grand probably.
yeah,
Big downside of being Canadian. Our flights are ridiculous.
yeah,
Uh, but that's cool, man.
yeah.
What? So getting back to some of the elite stuff. So
Mhm.
I wanted to run through like going through a bunch of production related stuff. So maybe for people who don't know, like what does a typical elite event look like in terms of a day, like a tournament day or practice day? What does that look like for guys like you and I?
It's early mornings and late nights, as you
Uh
well.
huh.
It depends, like especially when we're up north in the summer. The days are long. It gets light at four
Yeah.
thirty, 5 o'clock. So we're up. I'm up 30 minutes before everyone gets up in the house because you kind of have to capture, at least for our videos, the raw emotions of what's going on that morning.
Yeah.
So I was up that at like 4 o'clock, 4:30, depending on when the guys are getting up, and then you end up dumping footage until like 11, sometimes 12 o'clock because it doesn't get dark till 9:30 in the
Yeah.
summer. So I know you go on the boat during practice, right?
What? Yeah. Usually the last day of practice, I'll
Yeah.
be out there for the entire day, and that's like you said, like middle of the summer, dude. That could be 14 hours,
So
if
yeah, it's a
if not
long
longer.
day. And sometimes
Because
like on the road it's like our weeks are probably I don't even want to count the hours to be
no,
honest. That we put in. It's unreal sometimes. But
it's yeah, it's funny. Like some people ask like what you do or whatever for work, and you kind of explain a little bit of that, and their minds just explode. They don't understand it, and it's
that's my hardest question to answer to people. Like when I meet someone new, they're like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And I'm like, "I'm a videographer," but they're just like, "Oh yeah, I shoot little commercials here and there." But no, it's like
yeah,
I travel X amount of months a year
yeah.
and and film fishing, and they're just like they don't really understand that most of the time. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's interesting, but yeah.
Have
Go ahead. Sorry.
uh have you been able to put almost like a title to what you do? Because I remember I said it in like the first episode I ever had of this thing. Like I guess probably 2 years. I'm about one episode a year right now, so we're gonna ramp this up. Like
Yeah.
plan on doing two once every 2 weeks. We're gonna try to get an episode out with guys. But anyways, on that first episode, I remember I was talking about how I was struggling like defining what the hell I do because it's
Right.
like you're you're shooting, you're editing, you're doing some brand work, you're shooting photos here and there. I'm doing some social media stuff for a couple people as well. It's like it's so hard to put a defined like title on it. Have you figured that out at all?
Not really. No. I mean, there's a few words I guess you can kind of use. It's like creative director because you're doing the video, the editing, like photos and stuff like that. Or I don't know. I guess we're technically producers, right? In a way,
Yeah,
like because we
I'd say
set
so.
everything we do.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't. I don't know. That's honestly, I thought about that a lot. It's like, how do you just? I don't know. How do you explain that to someone? It's hard.
I know, and I like. I hate using the word like I'm just like a freelancer or whatever, because I feel like it's
It
like
sounds
more
cheap,
than, yeah,
almost.
exactly. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like I'm not running an agency, nor do I want to. I don't want to manage a bunch of people and um, go that route. So it's like, okay, I'm doing some video production. I guess I'm a producer on certain things. Like it's it's a weird one to figure out, and I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
I've even gone so far as to use like Chat GPT, be like, here's all the shit I do.
Yeah.
Tell me what
What
I
am
do.
I? What is my
What
job?
am I?
I'm curious what it said actually. I might start putting that in my Instagram bio.
It actually, what did it? I'll text it to you or something after.
Yeah.
But it actually spat out like a pretty good answer, but now I forget it, of course. Um, but so on the back to the like or like planning for the year stuff. One thing I just saw here that I wanted to ask before we got too far away from it was, do you use any like particular softwares or anything when you're doing your guys' planning?
Not really. We honestly just use our notes app, and we have a
Yeah.
shared note in our phone. Um, just about like we're planning out the TV shows that we have to shoot because we have to shoot 13 a year. So just strategically kind of planning those to get them done is pretty tough sometimes. But then we just use the calendar app that he just kind of puts in some shoots we have or uh, the tournaments we'll put in there. So we kind of know like if we start planning something mid-year, what we have going on. So nothing really crazy. Have you found anything that is good for that?
I mean, in terms of planning for the year, there's two, maybe three things that I use. So there's one that's more of a project management, task management program called Tick.
Tick.
Um, yeah, so that one's more like I'll have all my projects that I'm doing for Lee, for Great Lakes Finesse, for anybody else that I'm doing work with, and each individual project is broken down into all the tasks that I got to do to get that project done, and it's broken down even further into like, okay, here's all the stuff I got to get done for pre-production. Here's all the stuff I got to get for production. Here's all the post-production stuff, and I like line it all out. Each one's got a task. That way, I can kind of schedule things within that app as well to be like, okay, I got to get this ad done on the 30th. So that means the week before, I got to block out rough cut. And then the next 2 days will be refining that edit. And I kind of break down each project like that just so for me mentally, I know what's going on. I can, I look at everything every month and kind of plan things out like that. I'm
Yeah.
about to do that tonight actually, to plan out my week. But that's one. And then one that I use for a lot of pre-production mainly is called Milanote, and that one's actually amazing for visualizing a project. So for example, I got a shoot coming up with a trucking company that's kind of local to me with one of my buddies that I know, and I was able to use that program along with, I think Shot Deck is the website, and just looking at a bunch of other videos where you get screenshots and then I can kind of plan out all the sequences that are going to go into like a 30-second ad, for example.
Mhm.
So I'm visualizing it and showing it to the client before it even gets done, so you can kind of already tell like how it's all going to look. So that one's really good for any like pre-production type of
So that's
stuff as well.
kind of like a storyboarding.
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a thought that popped into my head. I wonder, like, with that, I don't know if that it includes that, but I wonder if there's some way we could use like AI and whatever, like video. I don't know. Use AI to generate images for storyboarding. I don't know if there's something out there like that yet, but that would be
I
pretty.
mean, Chat GPT is pretty badass with that right now,
Yeah.
and obviously there's other like full blown AI image generators, but that's a good
Right.
idea. But
Yeah.
like on the pre-production side, like I remember the first episode I did for Lee, on the Mississippi River. That one I had a more of like a paper edit lined up, but for the following season, the first episode at Okeechobee, I did like a full blown pre-production plan. I had a plan for the sequences and all the questions and shots that I needed to get throughout the event, and then when I brought everything back, I shot listed every single clip of the footage to like, okay, there's a hook set, like clip it, color it, mark it for later, and I did that for every single talking point, and then afterwards, I grabbed all of the talking points and kind of like pieced together, like, okay, there's like a scene here where they're talking about the lake, so here's all like the points in there that I got to add in and all this stuff, and that would be like a scene, and I would build out all these scenes in Millinote,
Yeah.
and then start editing. Now I don't really do that anymore because I kind of know more in my head like what I need to get, and then it kind of just comes together in the edit now. But yeah, for anyone who's trying to wrap their head around a project, something like Millinote, or anything where you're planning stuff out, even just a simple paper edit, goes a long way.
I think I tried to do something like that, like just started to plan stuff out like that, and I, I don't know. I've never been able to do that. When I attack like a tournament video or something like that, I don't really. With our stuff, we don't do interviews that much like you guys do,
Yep.
uh, and it's kind of just
Which are hard to get.
yeah.
I
And the
don't
thing
blame you.
I'm terrible at thinking of interview questions. Like I've tried to do it with some of like our Team USA stuff, and it turned out okay. But really, when I sit down and edit, it's how I'm feeling that day. Honestly, and it's how I structure everything. Like
Yep.
especially with like our intros, um, it's just I just go through and find a song, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sound good. Like
Yep.
see what I can build to that. I don't really ever storyboard anything. It's I don't know if that's good or bad. I can kind of always visualize if I see all the footage, and because I've
Yeah.
shot most of it, I know
Yeah.
what I have, so I know what I can build. And sometimes I like to edit while I'm at the tournaments, um, just to see what I have and what and like have some ideas. And this is what I need to maybe get tomorrow morning in practice or
Yeah.
something like that. So it's
No,
kind of a you're very analytical that way, and I don't know. That just seems a little overwhelming to me.
I do both, man. Like I said, like for Lee stuff now, it's kind of just like you said. I shot it. I know what I got.
Yep.
Obviously, for example, like Champlain video is going out tonight. I got that edit finished kind of earlier this week, and pretty much this whole season, I just kind of like I know what I shot. I'll review the footage. It's been months since I've seen it, but I'll do a quick review. Maybe mark any specific highlighted talking points that the guys do, and I kind of just build it as I go for each day, for each like little sequence or scene,
Hmm.
and build it out that way. Just kind of off a feel. The one thing that I do still really do a diligent job of like chopping up and renaming the clip on what they're talking about is in the interviews. Because all of a sudden, if I got for Champlain, for example, there's a sequence in there where all the guys are talking about what the classic means for their careers and kind of why it's such a big deal. And for people like us and people in the industry, they understand. But if anyone's wife is watching or their friend or people who don't really know the fishing world, I wanted a scene in there where kind of like you'd seen on any of the Netflix sport docs or whatever, they'll kind of dumb it down and be like the classic is the top 40 guys, whatever. But in the interviews, I know they talked about the classic here. Lee talked about the classic here. Well, chop beginning and end, name it classic. Next guy, Caleb. Oh shit, he talked about the classic too. And then so did Logan. So then all of a sudden I have three different guys talking about all the same thing. I can piece it all together and then throw all my B-roll and stuff on top of it, and all of a sudden I got a scene. But other than that, it's a lot of just feel. Like
Yeah.
some days I'm feeling tired, and maybe I'll do like a little slow sequence with some slow music because I don't want loud, big, bassy music going on in my head because I got a headache or whatever. But do you? Is there a lot of stuff that you reference from like the fishing industry or other industries if you're looking for inspiration? Because I'm sure there's times where you're like, dude, I've done this type of sequence a million times. Like I gotta liven it up here.
Yeah. I try and stay away from the fishing industry, especially with like what you guys do, just because there's only so much you can shoot
Yep.
to get inspiration from. And sometimes I'll watch your stuff. I watch everybody's stuff pretty much
Yep.
just to see what everyone's doing and pull some ideas here and there. But there's some channels like in the motorsports industry that do like more documentary style stuff that I've pulled a lot of inspiration from. But the kind of rule of thumb for me is get out of the industry you're working in to get get inspiration. That's I don't know why that I just blanked on that completely, but yeah, and that goes back to kind of like why I want to get out of the fishing industry a little bit
Yep.
is to experience that and then pull some ideas back to the fishing industry more directly than just watching someone else's stuff and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I can't remember who told me to do that originally, but one of the videographers and editors when I was starting out fully um, told me to do that to branch out of the fishing
Yep.
industry and look out that way.
Yeah. No, it's a good tip because, like you said, all of a sudden your stuff could look like everyone else's, and it's important to because a lot of other industries too are way further ahead than the fishing or hunting
Yeah,
industry and like the way they're capturing things. I reference documentaries all the time. It could be sports related, could be just a documentary about some random story about someone who had a tough life or whatever. But just the way they put scenes together, simple cuts, focus on story, how they're putting that together. Um, like I don't know if have you watched the series Landman there on
I love
Paramount?
that series.
Yeah, so
I've gotten
such
into that so hard.
dude, such a good series, but every episode I kind of noticed like, oh man, they really do a good job of just picking a badass song that's kind
Yeah.
of like beautiful in a way and then matching that up with some really pretty B-roll
Hmm.
making oil fields
Right.
look
Making
look
something so
beautiful.
mundane like that
Yeah, so
going
just like
crazy.
pulling the beauty out of what they're doing. And I found like Taylor Sheridan, the director
Yeah.
of that series, did a really good job in the last season and a half, 2 seasons of Yellowstone too, where he really focused on like the beauty of cowboying and kind of how amazing it is and how good it looks and all that.
Hmm.
So in the Champlain episode, you'll notice in the first like minute or whatever, I don't have my typical crazy intro with like whatever intense cinematic music and the boys talking about whatever and setting up the lake and stuff. I started with kind of like a landman intro where
Really?
it's like a
That video's
badass.
not out yet, right? It's
No, no, it's
nice
coming out tonight.
to watch it.
But yeah, the first like minute or whatever, I had a Whiskey Myers song, obviously, but it was like a slower one, and then just matched it up with some really like pretty B-roll that I took around Champlain between this year and last year, and like that was my intro, and then got into the guys talking and whatever like verite actual stuff going on type scenes, but yeah, it's I always pull from like random stuff sometimes. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, that looks cool. Like, let me try to build a scene or an intro, kind of like what they're doing there. And
Yeah. And
if it works, it
that's just part of our job as being creative is
yeah,
doing stuff like that.
yeah,
I think
for
Taylor
sure.
Sheridan. I really enjoy all of his shows. There's just something about him. Like I think it's what you referenced in like the way he makes something mundane look great with the music and everything.
Oh
There's
yeah,
something to take from that.
yeah,
Um, and so I end up really enjoying his shows. I don't really watch anything else on Netflix or anything. I'm not a big movie guy or anything like that. For some reason, I just people always think I'm crazy because I'm a videographer and editor. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you don't watch movies? Like you've never seen Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I don't." But
I almost had. Well, I'm not gonna say the full story, but me and Lee almost had a Taylor Sheridan moment at the one of his like more intense action scene moments at St. Lawrence last year. I'll tell you off camera what went down.
I'm curious now.
If I had a camera, it would have been a scene out of Yellowstone. It was friggin'
Uh,
hilarious, but won't be talking about that on here. But what we can talk about is getting into kind of YouTube in general and just growing a channel. So obviously, you've been a part of the success of Scott's channel and growing it. Do you remember actually like 5 years ago where it was at and kind of where it's at today?
we were probably somewhere like 400 to 450,000 because I remember I was there when we hit 500,000.
Okay.
Um, and now I think I don't know what we're at, 660 or something, 670.
660 something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, 667 is what we're at right now. So it's over the 5 years, we've grown about probably 200,000, give or take, which is kind of cool. So,
Okay. So my question to that is, for a series like me and Lee are putting together, what has worked for you guys in terms of growing the channel? Like, based on what you've seen us do, if I was coming to you for some advice on growing a channel, what are some things that come to mind when it around that?
um, I don't know. It's still so tough for us because we feel like we're not growing that much anymore.
Mm,
Even like our numbers of subscribers are they don't go up that much. But in my head, I think like I subscribe to someone on YouTube when I feel a sense of connection and being relatable. So I think that's something you guys do really well. Um, is you guys shoot the in that house stuff, and that's what people like. They like to see
yeah.
what's seen, and I think that's been really important for us too, and to be relatable. And they want to follow along on a story, so then they end up subscribing and growing your subscriber count that way. I
Yeah.
think I think that's probably the way I'd explain that the best.
Is there anything strategy wise that you guys have done? Obviously, pumping out videos on a consistent basis, obviously, would probably be the biggest deal.
Yeah, yeah,
Is that kind of the main thing that you guys have focused on? Is like, we got to be pumping out videos. Like, is there a certain number you guys try to hit, or um, would you say that's kind of the main driver for views and subscribers and all that?
that is a pretty big thing is consistency based on the algorithm with YouTube. Like you've got to stay consistent and kind of keep the length of your videos similar. We try to as much as we can. It's changed throughout the years, just as YouTube's changed. Um, but yeah, like another thing that we focus on a lot is relevance with the tournaments. And I'm not throwing
Mm-hmm.
shade at anyone else,
Yeah.
but like some of the other guys, like you guys, you're obviously super busy, so your content gets pushed to kind of the fall.
Yep.
It takes a while. I think there's a relevance period during the
Yep.
season, like 2 weeks
Yep.
maybe, that we try and stay within, which is why we grind the episodes out. And
Yep.
because in a way, we feel like people forget about that tournament a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen any difference in views if you post one during the season or like after the season now.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think me and Lee are probably going to get together pretty soon and try to figure out a plan around that. Is like, I see it kind of work in two different ways. There's two different paths you can go down. Is either friggin' pump them out as quick as possible during the season and stay relevant during the season, or like a traditional TV show, hold off and then ramp things up over a 2 week or 3 week period
Right.
where you're pumping them out every week.
And promote them heavily. Get people
Yeah, and have like a block of time where you're like, they start here, they end here. It's like whatever, a 4 week span or something, or maybe
Yeah.
even longer. Just because we got 10 episodes or whatever throughout a year. So call it like 10 weeks. You got a 10 week period. Every single week, you're putting out teaser, 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 trailer, episode, and repeat that over the course of 10 weeks, and just like, and have that kind of leading up to the season, almost like this time of year,
Yeah.
where, okay, we're like a month or whatever away from the season. All of a sudden, people are getting done with hunting, starting to get excited about fishing again,
Right.
and start pumping them out once you kind of hit that wave, rather than just kind of like willy-nilly in the fall throwing them up kind of whenever,
Right, yeah.
whenever they get done. So that's something that we're going to try to dial in for this year and make a decision on that. Because for our situation, waiting would somewhat be advantageous, because if we use anything Whiskey Myers related for music, we got to send it to them. They got to copyright clear it for
Right.
for YouTube, for the AdSense revenue and all that. So trying to pump them out as quick as possible. Even if we do have them ready, it might be another week or two before we get that cleared to
Right.
get it up. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. And it's also a double-edged sword because it's like we pump them out fast, but it's hard to keep the quality.
oh, for sure.
You
Yeah.
spend a lot of time obviously on each episode.
Yeah.
You're trying to grind that out. You end up almost losing the quality sometimes. So
Yeah.
that's something I struggle with a lot. It's like I want to get this out because the relevance, but I don't know. It's like so I can't spend as much time on something. So
Well,
that's why I'm editing sometimes at the tournaments.
yeah.
Like
You almost got no choice. Shit. You
yeah,
if you waited, dude, your stack of your
yeah.
queue would be just ridiculous. You'd dig a
Especially,
hole and bury yourself in it. Like,
especially back to backs, dude. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
this
they're
is
killer.
terrible. I know we
They're
always Kyle and I are always like, oh my god, like we've been doing it for 5 years now. So he's been doing it for probably 7 now, 8.
yeah,
And it's like these back to backs just kill you, especially when you start the season with them. It's like
yes,
you're not used to it. You're not in the flow of things, and then it's
yep,
just silly, giant workload. It's like
yeah.
ugh.
They're tough. They're nice in a way because like you're like, oh, we just cracked off 2 events. Like,
Right.
sweet. But then you're like, oh shit, now I got 2 full blown tournament episodes
Yeah.
that I got sitting on a hard drive that I got to get through. And oh, by the way, I'm only home for a week and a half or 5 days. I think I'm looking at my giant ass calendar right over here, and there's like 2 or 3 instances this year where we only got like a week, maybe 5 days
Like in between tournaments.
in between tournaments. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty heavy schedule, but in a way, it's kind of nice that they squished it together a little bit because there's like most of June and like all of July that's off, and
Yeah,
then
that's super nice.
you
Dude.
just wrap up with August a couple events. So I think it'll be good.
Yeah.
It'll be a good season for sure.
Got it. Like I don't know how we did it. How we cracked them out as quick as we could.
Dude,
And I feel like I've slacked. Well, like the last 2 years, I feel like I've been really slacking. Like they come out later, and you'll see comments here and there of like, "Oh, where's the video?" Like I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like it's 2 days after the tournament. You guys don't understand.
oh my god.
I'm like what in the world?
Some of
Like,
your practice videos though are coming out like friggin' day 1 of the event, and I'm sitting back if I'm not on the water or whatever because Lee doesn't have a marshal. I'm sitting back at the house. I'm like, God damn Macoy, like
making everyone
making me look
bad.
bad. He's already got
Like,
a friggin' 30-minute episode out from travel day and practice, and I'm sitting on the couch like editing a reel from the morning of blast off, thinking
Yeah.
I'm working hard. Like God,
That's because I only go out day 1 of practice really to just kind of be out of
Okay.
the water, get some on the water footage, and then I'll spend day 2 and 3 kind of in the house.
oh
Yeah,
that's
that's
right,
about-
because you're coming in like with Scott before
Yeah.
the tournament practice even begins. Damn, that's a long.
Yeah, so like we'll have the travel video and then we'll do practice. So I'll
That's
pretty
right.
I can knock out that travel video because they're pretty simple.
Yeah.
Within probably 3 or 4 hours, which is nice. So I'll get that. And we used to be on a schedule like right when I started. We did it like really strategically. We would put travel out like during practice.
Wow.
And then practice video would go up like day 2 of the tournament.
Yeah.
Just so like guys couldn't see where Scott was fishing, that kind of thing. Because by then it's like you have your spots, you know where you're
Yeah,
at.
for sure.
And then like the tournament video would be out like a few days later. So we used to like grind them out, but then when we kind of transitioned to more of the longer videos, I sat down with Scott. I'm like, dude, I can't pump them out. Like there's quality that needs to come out of this, and I don't want to sacrifice that.
Yeah, for sure. On those, well, I mean, on any video you guys are putting up on YouTube, so the back end of YouTube is something I haven't really messed with. Like I've been more focused on making stuff that looks cool, making stuff that Lee and the boys are happy with, and that's been the sole focus the last couple of years, and kind of feeling it out and like what this is all going to look like and everything. So I feel like we got a pretty good template down for structure, but now going into this year, I think growth is going to be more of a focus for us. So YouTube backend, what are the things I got to know? One thing, like friggin' tags, descriptions, SEO titles, thumbnails, like what do you guys focus on? Is there any strategies that you employ that you make sure you do when you're posting a video to get the most growth possible on it?
We have a set of tags that we kind of have in there, like as upload defaults, and then
Yeah.
we'll add in like some just related to the tournament. And somewhere I heard recently, like tags don't even matter, but we still do them anyways, just to, I don't know. I really don't understand like the whole back end of YouTube because it changes so much.
Yeah.
Um, and we have our titles, we try and make them as clickable as possible, but don't be so outlandish and clickbaity that like people get pissed off.
Yeah.
Like, they're not true. So we try and play off something that happened to the tournament, or like you see, like we do some of the titles with like money that seems to kind of do well for us at least, and then thumbnails. It's just make them as interesting as possible, and
Yeah.
like there's a difference between like your thumbnails and our thumbnails. Yours, I like yours because they're very put together, like professional. I feel like ours kind of get a little clickbaity sometimes.
Well, I mean,
It's
there's.
like whatever works. I mean,
I was gonna ask you about that. Like, for your titles and even your thumbnails, I notice like if I'm going back into Scott's channel, and I'm like, all right, I want to see Champlain episode. Like, you guys don't explicitly put in your title or your thumbnail like event number 7,
right.
Lake Champlain, Bassmaster Elite Series episode. Like, is there a reason for that?
I think we just try and. I don't think that's super clickable to be like the first thing that's on there. Like,
Yep.
we'll have it on the back end of the title, like 2024 Bassmaster Elite Lake Champlain. We'll have it there.
Okay.
But you want to catch the viewers, I think, with like that first part of it.
So
'Cause they're,
what?
they're only going to click on it if they're specifically looking for that event.
Yes.
But to a random viewer that scrolls through, they're like, "Oh, it's a Bassmaster event." Like, I don't really care. But if there's something that happens in the video that makes it interesting, having that there might grab the attention of a viewer that wouldn't normally watch bass fishing or something like that.
That's a good.
That's kind of that's a little, I guess, little tidbit, little secret.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good nugget. So, what would your the reason I started laughing there? What would your title be for the episode at Lake Fork when Caleb wrestled a friggin' hog in the pen?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not great at titles. That I leave that all up to Scott most of the time. Like,
Yeah.
I'll maybe suggest one, and he's really really good at doing titles,
Yeah,
and I always run through titles with him and thumbnails as well. But I don't know. Sometimes I've used ChatGPT a little bit just to see
Oh,
if we step out. And
I use it all the time, man, for
Yeah.
brainstorm and stuff.
man, I don't
All
know.
the time.
What did you guys end up using for that, or you guys just do the normal title, didn't you?
I just normal title. Like
Yeah.
I don't focus too much on it. I keep it very informational.
Right.
Like Champlain 2024 Bassmaster Elite Series Lee Livesey, like something like that. Like, we haven't even named the friggin' series, like, to put like a brand on it, like
Yeah.
brand name on it or anything. Which I don't know if that's hurting us or what, but I think it would be cool to like come up with almost like a logo for it or something,
Yeah, for sure.
and treat it more like an actual show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you guys got the whole Unfinished Family Business. Sick job on the like VFX on that little deal,
yeah.
by the way. Like, the way it comes into the screen,
rolls
it's,
in, yeah.
yeah, it's badass. So yeah, I don't know. Might be something we talk about to try to figure out this year, but
I don't think it would hurt at all. I think
Yeah.
it actually-
like,
you put more of a brand on it. I think that it would definitely help. I think.
yeah, because like you see Matt Robertson and those guys with like the Derby boys. When he started talking about that, I was like, God, dude, like, what a, oh man, it was one of those like, I wish I thought of
I know. I
that
watched
name.
that first episode and I was like, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah.
unhinged. But it's great. It's great content.
Yeah,
Cool people
but
to see.
I'm like so envious of that friggin' show name. Like, I want something
Derby
like
boys,
that
yeah.
for the boys.
God, yeah, that would be a good one for you guys. But
I can't believe I didn't think of that. Oh, and I have like, I'm like crazy. Like, my head starts going when I hit the pillow. That's when I like start thinking about ideas and shit. And I have a note in my phone of like 40 different names for the series, and
It'd
That
be
one
kind
was
of cool.
never on there.
It'd be kind of
What's
cool to
that?
have like a Whiskey Myers title in a way.
That's a good idea.
I don't know.
We'll
I know a
we'll
lot
come up
of
with
people.
something.
Yeah.
I almost want to, cause like I've seen a lot of good like fan interaction and stuff with a lot of stuff that Lee does. So it'd be cool to like put a list of like 5 really like good names together and put it out there for people to vote on or something.
Yeah. And
So
there's,
I don't
yeah,
know.
you
We'll
can do a
see.
lot. Yeah. With like Fiverr and stuff, you can get logos made, like
That's
super
right.
high quality logos. Like
Yeah.
I made the logo for like our Unfinished Family Business, but we have a podcast that we're not great at doing because it's so hard during the tournament to do it.
Yeah.
Uh, that I actually had uh, someone on Fiverr make, and it was great.
Yeah.
So a
That's
lot of
awesome.
mock up logos for each one of those names too,
Yeah.
to kind of get a better feel.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll do something because we want to take it to the next level and like bring on show sponsors and
Yeah,
try to like
for sure.
recoup some money for Lee for paying me to be there
Yeah,
because it yeah, I'm happy he's doing well and can afford to bring me along, but
tell him he needs to win a few tournaments next year.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, I want to help him grow it to a point where he's actually making everything back and then some.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask you about kind of sponsorship and how you guys integrate that. I know you said like you guys have someone who takes care of maybe the negotiation side of it or whatever, and structuring them. But once that gets into your hands, like what is a typical I'm talking specifically about the Elite Series show, or even for the TV show. Like, what does a typical sponsorship look like once it reaches you? Is there a list of deliverables that you have to provide throughout the year related to that sponsor, or has it been purely just show integration with logos and maybe some product placement?
Um, I don't, as far as I am aware, we don't really have any specific stuff we need to put in, but we do need to promote the products in the videos, that kind of thing. Like product placement, that kind of thing, with him using like Bahia sunglasses. He's obviously using those, wearing AFCO.
Yeah,
Uh, but those companies are cool where they don't have us like specifically promote that much, and he will, if like every once in a while, do that. Um, but yeah, there's no like specific deliverables. But now on the TV side of things, there are specific deliverables. Like we have like vignettes, like little commercials we put in, like a
yeah,
45 second, that they end up paying uh, one of the packages that he offers, and that's part of that. Like it's different tier systems of his
yeah,
sponsorship. So
yeah.
um, yeah, TV side's a little more structured, but YouTube side not so much.
Okay, that's interesting because that's something that we had looked at, me and Lee, like when we were putting together the first season, is built out kind of like a simple sponsorship tiered package system, kind of like you're talking about. But now it's like, how do we integrate that and actually get people on board and
Yeah,
offer more than just your typical, oh, you're going to get a presented by logo at the beginning of the episode, and that's all you get. Like,
yeah,
want to offer more, to be able to charge more for it too, and like actually have that brand get true value out of it rather than
right.
just a little bit of logo exposure. Because
Yeah,
I think that's starting to get stale, in any industry, is just slapping a logo at the beginning and the end, and that's it. Like there's got to be more.
yeah. Just yeah. I mean, even I don't know. It's so hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes we'll have like title sponsors, and I think that would be good for you. Like kind of what you were explaining though. But we end up when we have like a title sponsor, we'll do like a separate little piece, like during the tournament,
Yes, yeah,
like at
I've
home,
noticed that.
and just promote that just to give them a little more exposure. And then that ends up kind of going towards like the quote unquote like deliverables for the that company. It just helps us out.
Yeah, no, I've noticed that a few times when you guys have that, like, where you sell it like on an episode basis. Like you're gonna be the title sponsor or whatever for this episode, and we'll have like a little product segment in there talking about your stuff, and that's how you provide some
Sometimes those
values.
aren't even like sponsors of Scott. They're just like one-offs.
Yeah,
Sometimes we'll pull in and have to do some. They end up giving us deliverables for those though.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and what has to they negotiate all that and what has to be in the video and stuff. So
Nice.
yeah.
So, as you know, I just got an FX6.
Yep. So
it's
crazy.
it's a monster to try to
It's hard to figure out.
wrap my head around. I think I got it figured out for the most part. But little things that I'm still figuring out, like what kind of cards are you using in that thing?
I'm using the CF Express Type A's. I have one.
There's only one slot for that though, right?
No, I think there's two on the FX6. I think it's the same. Like I have an A7S3 here. The
Yeah.
FX is Scott's, but I use a little pro grade ones. I don't know if you can see
Yeah.
that. 240s. They're pretty good.
Let,
They're like
let me
they're
get my camera. One sec.
yeah. Jeez, the rig. Is it the 24 to 105?
Nope, that's a 16 to 35 that
Oh, the one that
I got from you.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, there is two CF Express card
Yeah.
slots. So, because the reason I ask is because I shoot everything simul record. Like,
Oh, really?
Don't
I've
need
never really
that.
messed with that.
where can I put this? That's living right here. I don't want to put it.
Yeah,
near
it's a
the
good
camera.
little prop back there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I simul record everything. So for people that don't know what that is, it's recording. When you hit record, it's reading to both and writing to both cards at the same time, just so I have a in-camera backup. Because yeah, don't want to run into that issue. But so you're running the CF Express cards. Damn. Like I was just looking at V90 like regular SD cards, and it's like 256 gig cards, like $500. I'm like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
I thought the
I
camera
guess
was
they're pretty
expensive.
much the same as CF Express cards,
Okay.
but I think honestly I'm not super like knowledgeable on the V90s, but like I know with the CF Express, like the read and write speed is crazy. It's like
It's out of this world.
I think it's like 8 or 900 read and 600 write. So like when I'm dumping footage at night, that helps a lot because
Oh shit, I didn't even think of that.
yeah, like it goes fast, like really fast. It's super.
Like compared to the A7S III, have you noticed the file sizes are well, okay, before I ask that,
Depends.
are you
what you're shooting in.
are you shooting in whatever that higher 4K resolution is in the camera?
Yeah, let me see. Like I shoot 422 10-bit in this
Because there's the whatever XABCI, which is like the higher
the one. Yeah,
the
I don't
higher
use
one.
that one. I just use the S. I know,
Okay.
but the SI is the base in like the FX6, for example. You can do
Okay.
say VCSL, I think, and
Yes.
that's the normal one.
Okay.
I haven't. I don't know why I haven't used it. I have a lot more storage space, but I really haven't used that much. Like,
Because that's what I noticed when I was messing around with that. Like, I'm not super technical, like, when it comes to that, but just going into that L, it was like half the amount of card space that it'll take up.
takes up a
But
lot.
I'm still able to shoot in 4K, 120, and any other video format that I would need. So I don't know, especially with it going up on YouTube. Most of the shit that I do,
Right.
I don't know. Like, have you messed around with that at all? And like, does it make a big difference?
I don't think it does, but visually I can see a difference with like the FX6 at least.
Okay,
A difference in the footage. Like it is definitely higher quality.
really? Eh?
I don't know the technical side of all that, but you can definitely tell. Like, and I can pull better screenshots from it and stuff
Yeah, yeah.
to act as photos versus like the A7S3 where I don't shoot in that code. I guess that's codec, isn't it? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not the
I
most.
think so.
I act like I know what I'm talking about.
Me too, dude. I'm still learning. That's why I got you on. That's why you're answering questions so I can learn.
Yeah, and kind of going back to like all the camera guys. Like I feel like we learn so much from each other. Like we'll
Oh,
just be
yeah.
sitting there when our guys are waiting in the bag line and just like talking about stuff, and we end up teaching each other stuff just
Oh yeah.
randomly. And I've learned
Yep.
a lot that way from Kyle and from you and from Aaron and everyone that's there.
Yeah,
So
big time.
it's super cool.
Are you shooting that FX6 using that Cine EI? Um, shooting,
I go
I don't
back.
even know what to call it.
It's
You
like
go
log.
back and
It's
forth.
basically the log version.
Yeah,
Yes, I,
but like,
I do.
uh,
It's just hard to expose it sometimes.
that's what I was gonna say. Like the exposure settings are like completely different. You're only shooting in 800. Like you're shooting in the you got only got the two dual base ISO options
Yeah.
for your ISO. So you're either shooting in 800 or you're shooting in 12,800, and then in camera on your viewfinder, you're switching the ISO to lower than the base ISO that you're shooting in, but it's only switching on the viewfinder and not in your actual
Right. It
footage,
does. Yeah.
right? So like
Yeah.
if a scene, if I need to shoot at 12,800, it looks a little bright on my screen. I can dumb down the ISO in my viewfinder to make it look like what it's going to look like once I finally edit it and post.
Mhm.
That that part I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around.
Yeah. I
So
usually.
you say you switch back and forth between like your traditional ISO settings and the City EI?
Yeah, because it's what is the word they use for like the ISO? Um, I guess it's like is it EI is what it is or
Well, there's DB gain,
gain
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is so confusing.
I
But
love
what I
how
end up doing and it ends up working is like I learned how to read the histogram, so I'll have one of
yes.
those down there. That
Yeah.
helps me expose it to the best. And then with the log or Cine EI, you have so much capability with it. Like there's so much room that you can, as long as you didn't blow out the highlights or
Yeah.
completely lose the shadows, like you can fix it, which is really nice
Okay.
with that footage. So
Are you
versus
shoot are you shooting an S log though for for example, for all these stuff up to this point I've just been shooting an S cine tone
Mhm.
so that I don't have to color grade it, but I'd be an idiot not to use like a log
Yeah.
shooting picture profile. So
If I was on
it,
set, yeah, I would. But
yeah,
because we're like in and out of buildings, stuff like that, and white balances are changing all the time.
yeah,
It is such a pain in the butt to shoot the Cine EI or S log. I'll try. Like, it's nice on the A7S3 because no, you ran the A7 IV, didn't you?
A74. That's what I'm
Yeah.
shooting on right now.
Yeah, and I didn't know. I don't know if you had they have this feature. I think it's like gamma gain or something
Oh,
that I use.
gamma display assist or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I use that when I'm shooting on the S3, just because it gives you a pretty rough
yeah,
uh, look of what it's going to look like, which is nice. But I won't always run log on that. Like I'll run Cinetone sometimes for sure.
huh?
Situational. It's just how I'm feeling that day. If I don't really want to mess with the color too much or something like that. If it's more of a professional project, I'll probably shoot it in log because
Yeah,
you have a little more leeway, and I think it looks a little different, a little better. Most of
yeah. I've I haven't messed around with color too much. Like that's something I this year like I've identified that I want to get better with, especially shooting log all the time. Like I'm gonna force myself to do it and just figure it out. But one thing I noticed shooting some test footage at home in Cine EI, like S-Log3, whatever, um, it was like I was shooting in my living room, just my little son playing around on the floor. It was like the tail end of sunset, so there was still like a decent amount of light coming in, and I noticed in camera, like I was shooting at 24 frames a second. I had that 16 to 35 opened all the way to 2.8 and shooting at 800, and I was like, okay, I need more light in here in
them.
camera. So then I bumped all the way up to the second base ISO, which is
Nice.
12,800. And even then, like my waveform was still pretty low. I'm like, shit, I need some more light. Like I was super
Really?
surprised that, and I didn't have any NDs on, no nothing, and like to expose properly, like I needed it a bit more. So in like a situation, and it worries me because I'm like, okay, I got that for those situations where I'd be in like morning when the boys are leaving at 4:30, 5 in the morning, pitch dark. Maybe there's a little bit of ambient light or whatever, be able to see them, which I know it'll do. But if you ever run into situations like that when you're shooting in Cine EI, is that when you'll switch over to like your traditional ISO settings and just like
I'll
shoot
switch
it?
up Cinetone on that FX6 because then
Okay.
I can see what's going on, and that's why we end up using like I use the 24 millimeter a lot for the
Okay.
1.4. In those early morning situations, you're kind of wide open and you don't have as much grain because your ISO is not as high.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I have run into that same issue, and I'm like, I don't understand it. Maybe someone can explain it
Yeah.
better, but I guess you just need like to put a light on top or something.
Yeah.
It's
I'm gonna force myself to figure it out. Like
yeah,
I'm
and
gonna
if you
do a bunch more
like,
test footage at home and stuff, and like mess
yeah,
around with it. I got a shoot coming up this week, and I don't know. I'll figure it out, but it'll be a totally different situation to be on the tournaments because, like things move fast, and like if you don't got your settings right, you might miss something. Like
yeah,
it happens so fast. But talking about missing something, how clutch has cash record been on that
uh,
FX6?
it's
That's
very
like
interesting.
that's like 90% of the reason why I bought the thing.
Yeah, because like with TV shows before, we had shot them on like the A7S3s, for example, and we
Yeah,
needed to have
you
the
just
Ninja
got to roll.
5, the pre-record on there is it's not
Oh, okay.
accurate. So,
It's like
but we
five
just run,
seconds or something on there, eh?
yeah. So we had to run those, and it was just such a big rig normally. But
Mm,
now it's nice because we shoot the TV shows on the FX6, and
yeah,
you just click the pre-record button, and it's like, all right, I got 10 seconds now or whatever. I think
yeah,
the max is like 31 at 1080, which
yeah,
is insane. I'm
yeah.
like, I don't need that much. So, but it's been clutch. The internal NDs are amazing. That's a
Mm,
game changer. Not having to screw on a damn filter and
yeah.
with all that, because you know just as well as I do, it's a pain.
Oh yeah, I remember Fork last year. I had variable ND, and it's a circular polarizer too, like all in one. And at Fork, dude, it was so damn cold, and like the last practice day, it was cold as shit, windy, raining, and like I was still shooting. I was like, whatever. And some moisture got into like the little mechanism on like the knob that you turn to play with the ND, and
Uh,
like I didn't realize it till a few hours in, but um, it was all like misty and like it was
yeah,
kind of like I had like an insane mist filter on.
yeah,
Like it was usable, but it was so cold too that like turning the ND it wouldn't be smooth anymore. It'd be like it felt like it was loose as hell. And like,
yeah,
anyways, it's gonna be nice to get away from that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've
Have
had
you noted?
so many issues with NDs like that.
Oh, dude, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Have you had any, or have you noticed a big difference in hard drive space during tournament days, or even for like the TV show stuff, shooting in like cache record, where you're not just eating 10, 15 minutes worth of card space. Now it's just like 30 seconds before you hit record and captures the 30 seconds before you needed it.
TV show for sure, but
Yeah,
we've always kind of had the cache record, so it hasn't been crazy.
that's right.
And before with like the A7S3 shooting YouTube stuff, I never really was rolling all the time. Like I know Kyle like rolls in increments of like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or whatever, and
Yeah,
then he'll delete the clip. He says, um, which is that's a good strategy for that. But
yeah,
I've never, I don't know. That's one of my biggest weaknesses is on the water stuff, and that's what I'm excited about this year. The guy we hired is like I think really good at it, so
nice.
it'll be nice to. Here, you go in the water today. I'll sit back in the house in the warmth and
So are you guys running a camera boat then, or just like
probably, yeah.
hell yeah, that's
Yeah, we
nice.
normally do, but it just last year I kind of got away from it a little bit because just all the workload was on me. So and trying to pump it all out, it was something had to
Yeah,
go, and it
yeah,
was on the water stuff. But yeah,
that's one thing. It's gonna be tough. Like we don't, we haven't messed around with trying to hire camera boats at every event and stuff. Like just that, I don't know, adds another layer. It's another thing that Lee's got to pay for.
right,
It's another thing you got to manage.
yeah,
It's
and it's
just
not
not always like
yeah.
I envy the guys that do it because man, like that's
Kyle,
one thing. Yeah,
I
dude.
don't
Like
And that.
That's one thing that I've identified where I'm like, if I want it to get better, I need better on the water footage. And we're doing what we can. Like we've gotten away from the GoPro shit show and moved to the DJIs now.
So much better.
So like we're actually going to have reliable footage.
Yeah.
I won't have to put the little text on the screen like, "Oh, our GoPro overheated and we don't have any footage past 10 a.m."
Yeah.
Won't have to deal with that anymore, which is nice. So like little things like that, but it's still GoPro footage at the end of the day, like on the water, and it's for me it's boring. Like I'm sure.
And they probably don't wear chesties either.
No, I mean, me and Lee messed with it a little bit the first season, but it's just I don't want him to deal with that. It's another thing I got to manage. Like it's uncomfortable. Like I don't know. So we'll run like our 2 or 3 on the boat this year, and I'll try to figure out more of a creative way to put it together if I'm not on the water. But it's tough if you don't have a camera boat and shooting boat to boat, which is the ideal situation. It's very tough.
Like I commend Kyle so much for going out there every
Oh.
day because that is their video. They don't do the GoPro stuff. Like he puts it.
Yeah.
all there. People don't realize how hard it is to get that on the water footage.
Oh, dude.
Get some of those crazy shots that he gets is just. I'm like, dude, you're making us all look bad. Like,
Yeah. And he's got like the most simple setup. Like he's
oh yeah,
I think
he's
he's
on an A7S3.
right with like no monitor, no crazy cage or anything. Like I want to get Kyle on here and talk about that.
Yeah.
Because like that's one thing I've
so
noticed, man. Like over the years, like he hasn't gone insane and got like some crazy build out, but he's still able to see that little 2.5, 3 inch screen and like just put together some unreal shots. Like it's wild.
I think it's just pure talent from him. He's just such
Oh yeah,
in the industry. It's crazy.
yeah. He
Probably one
He
of the
can-
best guys ever too.
oh
Just
100%.
nice to meet.
He convinced me to just like because I was looking at like a telephoto lens last year because we had some opportunities where a couple tournaments we were able to, or I think only one tournament we were able to get a camera boat for, but there was some other ones that were like a potential. So I was like, damn, like I don't have like a long lens. Like I've been shooting 99% of my stuff for the last 4 years with a 24 to 105, and that's it. Like work with what I got, just do the best I can. But when it comes to the boat to boat stuff, it was like I got to get a 7200. And I talked to Kyle about it. He's like, dude, forget about the 7200. Go with a 1:6. It's like a variable aperture lens, but it's so much better on boat to boat stuff because there's situations that he told me he ran into where he's far away from him and like he has to stay back, and but with the 1:6 he was able to get in there and get what he needed. So
And to keep it stable though is so tough.
oh, I know.
Hopefully
Yeah.
it has stabilization. I bet it does if it's a Sony native.
Yeah, and he's got it on a monopod and stuff, but
Yeah.
it it would be next to impossible on like Champlain or St. Lawrence or
Yeah.
something when it gets. But
Yeah.
um,
There's something I was going to bring up and I forgot what it was. What were we talking about before?
like all the FX6 stuff.
Might be the only gripe I have with the FX6, and we've
Yep.
kind of figured out a workaround, which is really why we ended up selling the 16 to 35 to you. I feel bad now because you're running it on there.
Well, that wasn't the plan. I wasn't planning on getting that FX6, but
Yeah.
I mean it's on there, but it's shaky, eh?
It is. There's
Yeah.
the problem, and I don't know why they did this. It's just the way the FX6 is, though. There's no internal stabilization in that.
Yeah,
And then there's no OSS, which is like optical stabilization.
in the lenses, yeah.
In the G Master lenses either. So like I went
Yeah.
on to Google and like Googled it, and like I needed like a wide lens so that I can run on the FX6.
Yeah.
And the only wide lens was the 16 to 35 f4 Zeiss, which is like it's great because it's only like $300, but that
Really?
it's a game changer for the FX6.
But it's got internal stabilization in the
There's
lens.
internal stabilization, and it communicates with the camera. Like that lens doesn't communicate with the camera really in that way at all, like the stabilization.
Yeah, no.
But that 24 to 105 does have that OSS.
Yes.
So that
Yeah.
one's stable. but
Yeah.
it's 4, which sucks. It's just like
Yeah, I know. I'll mess around with it this year. Like, I don't know, save a
you
couple
never make
pennies
the
and.
perfect camera.
Oh, I know it's
You'll never
ridiculous,
do it.
man. Like, how do
Unless it's
the
the A1 and
they're
it's just like
they're top of the line lenses though? Like, how does that not have
I
stabilization
know,
in it? It's
yeah.
insane.
It
Obviously, they.
communicates with like S3s and all the newer mirrorless bodies, but your highest end cinema stuff, it's just like, really? I'm like, come
I don't
on.
know. There'll be a lot of learning curves that I got to get over this
Yeah.
year with that rig, but
No,
hopefully it looks good. We'll see.
yeah, I'm
I
sure.
think I was outgrowing that A7 IV, dude. Like, I was running into situations where the damn thing would overheat or, um, what else? Like, just random shit. Like, it,
Really?
it
You
just
had it
wasn't,
overheating?
what's that?
You had it overheating?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Like, especially down, like, Alabama this year was hot as
Oh yeah.
shit. Like, in those situations, it's like, you're asking for it. But in, like, other situations that were a lot more controlled, if I needed, like, it only shot in 60 frames a second for slow mo. But if I needed to wait a long time and stay in that mode and I'm rolling, waiting for
Oh
the
yeah.
shot to happen, then it would be throwing me heat errors and
Hmm.
like kicking me out, and I'd have to turn it off, and then inevitably I would miss a shot or something. So it's like
Right.
little things like that, and then I'd be doing some brand work, and like the camera would just act weird, or like the audio setup wasn't right for what I needed, or little things like that that just started to like compound. And I'm like, okay, if I'm gonna take this serious, I gotta really get something that's gonna be reliable,
Hmm.
that's gonna do everything I need it to do. Audio was a big thing. Like, I was just running a splitter cable from the one audio input that's on that camera, one to run the shotgun mic,
Hmm.
and one to run the lav. And in post, I would have
Was it
to.
all on one channel?
It was
Then or
all in one channel, so the one channel was split. Yeah, exactly. So like every clip, if it was a clip that I needed lav audio from, it would be on the left side. So in
oh,
post,
so
I would
you
have.
isolate it then at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. So it
I
was
thought
isolated.
that was like, ooh,
No, it was isolated, but it was still a pain in the ass because in
yeah.
post, I would have to do like fill left with right or fill right with left on depending on which source of audio I wanted to pull from.
Right.
Whereas this, I'll be able to manage that a lot easier. Um, but yeah, I'm excited to start messing around more with it and shooting with it.
Yeah, you've got the XLR inputs in there, and it's the only thing is like, if you take that top handle off, there's no audio.
Yeah,
It's
I did.
terrible. The one that like, they, which we don't really, it doesn't matter to us as much, but like gimbal shooters, that would suck
Oh,
because they
that's right.
on the top handle. But you're crazy if you're putting an FX6 on a gimbal.
Yeah, I ain't doing that. I got a gimbal for this like truck stuff that I'm about to do, and I'll be throwing the E7 IV on there, not
Yeah.
not the FX6.
What gimbal did you get? I'm looking at purchasing one soon.
Dude, I think it's like the RS4 Pro or whatever,
Oh,
or
so you
not
got
even the Pro.
a new one.
I got, man, I'm usually the one who's like researching gear for like 2 months before
Yeah.
and knowing every little thing about it before I buy it. But the gimbal was my latest purchase before the camera. Between the gimbal and the camera, I did like very minimal research. It
Yeah.
was one of those situations where it's like, well, it was also coming to the end of the year, and I had dumped some money to for taxes or whatever. But yeah, it came to like I just need it, and I did as little research as possible to understand like, hey, this is the thing that I should go for, and just pulled the trigger on it, and I'll figure
Right.
it out after. So, yeah, I think it's the latest Ronin, but not like the Pro one that's like all carbon fiber or whatever the hell they're
Yeah.
making it out of.
I've heard you
Um,
do that.
so I got it now. Have I used it yet on a shoot? No, but it'll. I'll be using it this week, so
Yeah.
I'll get my money's worth hopefully.
Yeah. I think that would add a good element to like the tournament stuff, like at weigh-ins at least, and in the morning. But
Yeah.
you know as well as I do, it's so hard to like manage all of that.
Oh yeah. Like
We're running around so much at launch at least, and it's
yeah.
like to have that gimbal on your back or whatever. I mean, the new
Yeah.
ones are nice because they like fold up and you can like stick it in your
Yeah.
side compartment or whatever. But
I've been anti-gimbal. The only reason I got it is because I need specific rolling shots of giant ass 18 wheelers rolling down the road. And I'm not shooting that handheld, so like that's the only reason I got it. But I I don't honestly think I'm even gonna bring it on elite events. Like I like
Yeah,
shooting handheld, and maybe I'll mess around with it at the classic. But I don't know. We'll see.
the classic is such a different animal.
I'm
It,
pissed. I was well. Sorry, I'm not pissed because we had a baby, but I was sad
you weren't
missing
there.
it. Yeah, I wasn't there, but
Mac,
it's worth it this year because it's on Lee's home turf there.
yeah,
So it'll be fun. I'm bringing down the wife and kid too. So they're gonna stay in Fort Worth, and then I'll stay with Lee at. I think we're staying at some Airbnb on the lake.
because
So
it's
that'll
an
be a.
hour and a half drive or hour drive or something.
I know it's gonna be it's gonna be a grind,
Yeah,
but it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah.
Speaking of road life, so both you and Scott, I've noticed, have been able to stay pretty fit over the last
I,
couple of years.
yeah,
uh, what does that look like when it comes to our big road trips that are like up to 2 weeks? Like, what is
that's
that? How
that's
do you
the
guys
hardest part.
do you fall off the wagon over like a road trip a little bit? Yeah.
We'll try and eat okay. That's a big part of it. Is like, I mean, I'm not as good as he is about it, but like staying consistent with what you eat and eat good. But when you're, like when we're on the road, it's like, I don't know, it's just so easy to go to Bojangles or
Uh-huh.
wherever rather than spending the time to cook something. So I've struggled with that so much on the
Yeah.
road. Like
It's tough.
it is tough, and working out is like virtually impossible on the road because you're so
Oh,
exhausted throughout the day.
yeah.
And I mean, yeah,
Like I
I
don't
do
know how you
it every
can
once in a
focus
while.
on editing on how tired you get. Like,
Yeah,
dude, some days like I'm
especially at the end of the season, it's like, all right,
yeah.
I can't. Like, you have to tell yourself, like, I'm not gonna do anything productive with editing, so I just need to go take a nap for a
Yeah.
few hours. And
Yeah.
but
No, it's important, but have you tried like cuz I was thinking this year like trying to meal prep and have like ready to go stuff in like a Yeti in the truck or whatever and try to stay with it cuz I'm running a marathon and I got a half marathon in the spring and then a full marathon in the fall. So I'm like, dude, I can't fall off the wagon. Like last year was bad, man. Like
you
I was
guys drink beer now too.
well there there's the beer drink
You guys
there's the
drink.
beer drinking, but just like in general, like you said, like it's just when you're driving, putting in a 16-hour day of driving, and you don't have any food prepped and at the ready, it's next to impossible to find something healthy at a gas station or wherever on the road. Like it's just impossible. But I got no choice this year. Like I gotta figure something out because otherwise I'm gonna go into those races. Die, like
Yeah,
literally, I'll probably die if I go into it out of shape.
yeah, literally. Yeah, I'd say meal prepping. I've done the meal prepping, and I'm gonna get back to it here, living alone and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've tried it, and it's not that bad. We haven't done it on the road that much.
Mm.
Just takes a lot of discipline to do that, and
Yeah.
it's I don't know. We're just so busy. It just kind of slips our mind, and I don't know. But we end up buying groceries and like cooking, trying to cook like at the
Yeah.
house. Um, and that always fell on my plate too, somehow. They were
Really?
ready
I,
when I came back, and I'm like, oh,
come on.
I know. I don't know. It was fun. It taught me how to cook a little bit. I could cook a mean chicken on a Traeger, which the Traeger is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have one or not, but
Yes, I
you
do.
can't
Yeah.
mess the thing up on it. So it
Yeah.
was made me look good for sure.
Yeah. That's funny. What's I'm always curious on guys' boat snacks. Like, what's like the go-to boat snacks if you're out there for like a full day?
Uh, Man, I don't know. I don't really. I'd say crackers because that's end up like what Scott usually gets is like crackers, just
Really?
peanut butter crackers and stuff. Those are
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pretty solid. I used to get like trail mix, but I found out peanuts are terrible for you.
Really?
It's
I
like
didn't
one of
know
those
that.
things. Like yeah, unless you're like hiking or something, and like oatmeal too
Yeah,
is
yeah.
bad for you.
Huh.
Um, yeah, But yeah, I'd say probably the crackers are kind of my go-to boat snack. I know Kyle's the king of boat snacks. He's all over the board with.
Yeah, I need that from Kyle. So like a full day on the water, like you're just eating. You're not bringing lunch and shit. Like,
Uh, on tournaments, no.
you're crazy.
It's bad.
Oh my
We
god!
might
I
we might make a sandwich, like a ham sandwich or something at the house. Like if we go to the grocery store, we'll get some
yeah yeah.
bread and some meat, and I'll bring that out. But sometimes we just forget to do it, and we regret it later, and then we're
Oh
just savages when we get off the water.
man, I
That's when
can't
we
do.
end up at McDonald's and
Oh
yeah, or the gas stations like at Toledo Bend. I don't know where you guys stayed, but there was a gas station that had some bomb chicken fingers.
I think I do remember that actually.
Yeah, it
That's
was
the
like
thing about U.S. friggin' gas stations. Like, you guys
yeah,
got that figured out. If you
yeah,
want to eat like good but bad, like it's bad food at the same time,
yeah,
but it's good bad food. At a gas station, like we don't have that here. It's crazy. All we got
yeah,
is like Tim Hortons attached to it. If you're lucky, even that's dog food. Like you don't want to eat that.
yeah.
Um, but what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, for like food on the boat, dude. Lee'll tell if you talk to Lee about this, he'll tell you like I either never stop eating, or when I do have food, I got like like a spread of different stuff. Like I'll rolling into a tournament.
Yeah.
If I hadn't done a grocery stop before I left home, I always make sure like before I get to the house, because I know the boys is like they're like they're like cockroaches. They can live off a grain of rice a day. Like they're
Yeah.
crazy. I don't know how they do it. But I'll make sure to stop somewhere and load up on like whatever breakfast bars, and so I try to get like like we had a Bucky's nearby at one of the Alabama events. I think it was like Smith,
Hmm.
and I loaded up on like their roast beef sandwiches and stuff, and then
Oh
like I would
yeah.
eat that for lunch every day.
They're
But
so
like
expensive.
I need like that freaking Red Bull drinks.
Yeah.
Like
The
I
amount of
roll up.
Celsius and Red Bulls I've had during the season is not healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm
Oh,
not
you
a big
need.
coffee drinker at all, but
I am.
you
But
do both.
I
You
need
do
f-
both.
I need food on the. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know how they do it. They'll
Yeah, like Scott
finish.
will go out there and not eat anything some days. Like he'll bring crackers, but not eat them.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just not healthy. Unless you're doing like an intermittent fasting kind of deal, but
No,
he's
I can't.
not, not
I,
doing that.
I can't function without food.
Yeah.
Food and proper hydration. Like I will be a write off if I don't. And even on the beer stuff, like I really like dial it back. Like I find I kind of like I'm pretty tamed when I'm at events and stuff, just because I know like I've seen certain guys get caught up in like trying to get after it with whatever's going on and stuff. But I realize like I'm there to work. I need to get what I need
Right.
to get, and I'm pretty, I guess, responsible in that sense. Like I know my limits, and I cut things off because I know I can't be a write off the next day. I'm like the worst person that's hung over. Like you'll see,
Yeah.
I'll be in bed all day and like feel like shit. So like I can't do that on tournament days.
Especially because, yeah, like you said, you're there to work. And I've heard some
No.
stories about some individuals in the industry that, like you, I think you're kind of alluding to.
Yeah.
You just,
Like
it's just not
can't do
a,
it.
yeah, but it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a time and a place for it.
oh, for sure. Um, with the road life and everything, what are some like not so glamorous things that people might not know about? Like obviously they see us and they're like, "Oh, dude, that's so cool! Like it'd be fun to shoot like for someone or whatever." Like I'm sure a lot of guys are reaching out to other anglers and stuff, but what are some of like the not so glamorous side of a lot of the stuff that we run into?
I mean, we kind of already touched on it a little bit, but like
Yeah.
the long days,
Mm-hmm.
like if you don't like getting up early, it's not for you.
Yep.
I mean, if you're not ready for the grind, it's not for you. Like, I don't know. Not so glamorous things though. I don't know. I mean, just having to shoot in anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've had some rainy days that they're like, okay, you're going.
Yeah.
Wind, like wind, that's probably my arch nemesis. I hate wind. Like
Me, it's
especially
rain
water. Yeah, rain
and
too.
wind, I guess.
Glamorous, don't mix with rain.
Yeah.
What do you think are like some of the not so glamorous?
I mean, obviously, like the road trip days, like when you're driving, dude, like you gotta, like, especially from where I'm at, like, well, even you in Florida, you're on the other end of the spectrum. Like,
Yeah.
so for me, for example, like to get down to Texas, like it's gonna be a 20, I think 26 hours, like drive, not including stops. So, I mean, add in 4 hours worth of stops over the course of the 26-hour drive, which I got to break up between 2 days.
Hmm.
So you're running like whatever 15 plus hour days. What, I'm not very good at math, but whatever that breaks down to, if you're putting in like a 12 to 16-hour travel day, first of all, that's long.
Yeah.
Um, you're eating whatever food you come across whenever you start to get hungry. A lot of times you're going to gas stations where that's the place you end up at, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and it's the only spot to go, and it's dirty. I ran into there was one, I took a picture because it was so absolutely disgusting, but someone had like just full blown shit on the floor in this gas, like just stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
it's just like you run into stuff like that where you're like, God, what am I doing with my
Yeah.
life? Like,
Travel.
this,
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Just travel. Just not.
yeah, just travel days. But at the same time, that's also when you kind of can expose yourself to some of the most fun times and
Yeah.
really cool experiences. Like, I know in the last couple of years, I've done a good job of trying to like make those road trips fun where I love going to different colleges and picking up like a coffee mug or something
Hmm.
from like a university and trying to add a couple cool stops like that on the way. Like Lee, Caleb, and Logan, they all know like if I get a chance to roll through Nashville, I'll do it. Stay a night, have some fun on Broadway, like whatever. So like little things like that, like are awesome. Like you wouldn't have got to experience that if you weren't doing these
Right.
types of road trips. But there's another side where you're dealing with shit on the floor in a bathroom when you got to take a piss and you've just been driving for 6 hours straight. It's like,
And you kind of sometimes like I drive until I'm tired, and then I'm like, okay, I gotta book a hotel,
yeah, that too.
and then
Yep.
you just get roach motels, and it's like, oh.
Yep.
And it's keep it like with you're different than I was, because I had to drive like the truck and boat. So trying to
Oh,
find
that's,
something that's
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
it was hard. Um, so it yeah, but yeah,
Well, and with all the gear that we travel with, like if you do stay in a hotel like that where it's halfway into your trip, you're not leaving all your stuff in your truck. You
no,
got to bring
I never left any, like any
no,
camera stuff in the truck just
nope.
because it only
So all of a
takes.
sudden, you're having to bring all this gear, like multiple bags worth of stuff,
Yeah.
into a hotel room. If the hotel room's on the second floor, but it's like a motel style and doesn't have an elevator, guess what? You're lugging all that gear upstairs, and you might have to take 2 trips. It's like little things like that that people don't see and like understand. Like, yes, it's cool, it's
Yeah.
an amazing, but you're gonna deal with some shit, and you gotta overcome that and be like mentally strong.
Yeah.
But one thing I don't know if this is something you do, but so the hotel thing is like a frequent stop for me where I have to break up a trip. One absolute game changer is buying like a little foldable dolly from like Home Depot or whatever,
Yeah.
where you get to where you're going, unpack the dolly out of your truck. I fit like I got 2 different like big Peter McKinnon camera bags, one with all my charging stuff, one with all my actual gear. I got a Yeti soft cooler that I keep my whole built out camera rig inside for on the boat to keep it safe. So I got that with my camera in it. Got tripod and maybe like another bag with some camera stuff in it and clothing and all that. So that's like whatever, 6 bags.
Yeah.
So you throw all that on the dolly, roll it in. Hopefully the place got an elevator, and you're good. You don't have to make multiple trips. So that's been
Yeah, I never
that's
thought
been,
about doing that.
that's yeah, it's a good move. I
Yeah.
I used it. I got it halfway through the season last year and used it on every trip. Even to like bring stuff from the truck into the house, it would
Mhm.
work. And yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. That's what's nice about this year, though, is like I won't have to be driving the truck and boat to tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, how's that gonna
Kind of
look for you this year? How's that?
fly in, fly out is kind of the deal we made. And
Yeah,
other than maybe some of the tournaments that are close, like no, it's Hartwell, and then Pascatank River, I'll probably just end up riding with Matt because Matt Aries, 30 minutes west of me, so it's really
oh,
nice.
that's right.
So it's
Oh,
super
that's cool.
that way, so I can just travel with him and go directly to the tournament. But yeah,
So why North Carolina? You said North Carolina, right?
yeah, yeah.
Why North Carolina for home base? Is that
Um,
you said you were from Pennsylvania?
I grew up in Pennsylvania. I was born
Okay.
here in Charlotte,
Okay.
and my parents lived here for a while. Um, and then they ended up coming back after living in Pennsylvania for I think 18 years or something.
Okay.
So it's just kind of always been like home to me in a way. Even though I didn't live here that much when I was younger, it
Yeah.
feels like home. So just being around more family and stuff is kind of important. And
Yeah.
Florida, at least where we were in Florida, there was nothing around. So it was hard to, like I said earlier, it was hard to mingle with people my own age.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm 25. I need to be around people my own age, and if I want to have any chance of getting married, I think. So we'll see.
Yeah. No, that's a good
And
move. Like,
part of the road life too, with
yeah, oh, for
marriage,
sure.
relationships are just impossible.
Well, that's one thing I had written down to ask you was like, how has this life affected personal relationships?
It's not been good. Like
Yeah.
they don't like being on the road all the time.
Yeah.
So it's tough, but eventually I'll find one that's up to deal with it, and hopefully I won't be on the road as much.
Yeah.
That's kind of a goal, like moving up here too. Is like I'm not going to be busy 24/7 like I was when I lived down there because I was kind of in a way at a becking call, which that was part of it. I was on salary and
Yeah.
that was just part of the job, but I think I've kind of progressed enough to get away from that and
Yeah.
still the same amount of money, if not more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the goal too.
So what's are you gonna one man band it still? Like, are you trying to move into the agency route? Like, what's the next like 5+ years look like for you? Like, what's kind of the vision?
I don't know. Like with me personally, I'll probably
Yeah.
want to band it for a little bit. Maybe go to like the production agency route. I don't know. I haven't dipped my feet enough to really realize or really like see what I want to do, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of still stuff I'm trying to figure out as we speak. So
Yeah. Well, it's fun. It's a
yeah,
good.
I
Glad you
would
made
be
the.
against it, but I don't know. Sometimes I can probably be a tough person to work with, just because I'm so anal in some things.
Yeah.
So it would take a special person to live up to some of my standards, I think.
Yeah. No, I
Fortunately.
get it. I get it. Keep rolling through a couple other ones I had here. So like editing process. What does that look like for you? Like, are you pretty? Are you? What does that look like? I don't want to feed too much here.
Like how do I go about an edit? Like if I say after the tournament, how do I go about it?
Yeah.
Um, so I use Premiere Pro, so I'll import all the footage into there basically, and then make like three different sequences for the three different like videos that we do.
Yep.
And the way I go about like each one, like say a tournament video, I'll put every piece of footage on the timeline, like in as chronological as I can.
Yep.
And it ends up being like this long six, or I don't even know. It's probably way longer than that. I don't know what I've maxed out timelines before. Uh, I didn't
Jeez.
even know that was possible. But just having all that footage on there, and then I go through and like on a fishing day, like he has the chesty and a dash cam.
Yep.
So I'll pick them out and like on Premiere Pro you can like label them, like
Yep.
color the clip. So I'll like label a catch as like orange or something, and just go through all of that, and then do the same thing on dash cams, and then and again like I'll go through the dash cam, pull that that catch and just match it up with that chesty clip.
Yep.
So I'll do all that, go through the whole video that way. Um, it just saves me a lot of time when I end up going through and start editing like the big camera stuff in the morning, and then it just leads in. So I don't have to do all the matching up later. I'll do all that first,
Yeah.
and just go into the rough cut, and then come back through with the final cut.
Okay,
So,
cool. So are you with the big camera stuff? You're not going through clip by clip and like marking what is going on. You kind
yeah,
of know.
no, I kind of know, and I can kind of. I usually get enough shots that I can build something with what I have there.
Yeah,
So I won't really mark anything there usually. It's just on like the fishing stuff where I don't know what's there really.
yeah,
So I'll go familiarize myself with the footage first, and then can just roll with it that way, and I'll just go through chronologically.
yeah. I do the
But
exact same thing.
yeah, that process has changed over the last 5 years multiple times.
Yeah,
It's finding efficiency for your personal liking, basically, is how I
for
see it.
sure. I I always like I'll see like an Instagram story or something from you of you like editing on a laptop and you just got like the basic like Premiere windows open and like the
Tiny
small
little screen.
dude. I don't like oh shit. I can't really turn my screen or my camera around to show, but like I got one, two, three screens there, and then the fourth that I'm looking at you on that I
Yeah.
have set up right here. So I got like a friggin' race simulator worth of screens, and I use every single one of them when I'm editing. And I can't fathom editing a full blown episode on like a 13 or even 16-inch MacBook. Like it blows my mind.
Yeah, and I edit all the TV shows on them too.
Oh
It's
my
probably
god!
not the best idea, but I don't
I
know.
mean, good.
I've gone
You
through
get
this.
it done.
Yeah, I've gone through the moments where I'm like, I have two monitors sitting right here next to me in boxes,
Yeah,
but I I used them for a while. I had two on each side, and like would spread out like the timeline and everything.
yeah,
But then, with how much I edit on the road, I just was like, I got to learn how to run with this, and
yeah.
that's what I've been doing.
Smart move.
Just be the most efficient you can when when you have little amount of time, like we do
Yeah.
on the road. So
No, it's good on you. I know this year, I think I'm gonna try to cook off a little more than I like. I would usually shot list a little bit, or as much as I could. Like especially with the GoPro footage from all the guys. Like if I was back at the house and I had pulled GoPro cards from the day before, I'll go through all the GoPro clips and cut fish catches, delete all the stuff I know I'm not going to use, and
mhm.
like try to. Damn, that would take me over half the day, like almost the whole day, and then all of a sudden it's like I got to go to weigh in, and like that was my day. It was like, where did the time go? So I'm gonna try to do that as well this year, and like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to, but try to like start building out scenes or as much as I can. But even then, like I'm the type that I like everything shot. I like to bring it all in at the same time, review everything, at least like a quick pass through, so I know
Right.
okay they talked about this. Go through the interviews, mark the interviews, and kind of go sequentially like that. But one thing I did do is I got an iPad this year, so I got a 13-inch MacBook Pro or MacBook Air, and then 13-inch iPad. So I'm gonna have that use the sidecar feature and have it as like a second monitor when I'm on the
Oh yeah,
road
I've seen
to
that. Yeah,
try to take advantage of some extra editing if I can. But we'll see.
yeah. It's tough.
Do you have like a process or some kind of thing that you do to get into like a creative flow to start editing, or are you just that disciplined that you just get to it?
That's really interesting that you brought that up. I think about that a lot.
Yeah,
And it changes a lot really, but recently it's been like I'll watch I'll just go into YouTube and just like scroll through my feed, and I'm like, okay, this looks, because my feed's like all like cinematic stuff and everything like
yep,
that. So sometimes I'll watch videos like that, to kind of get me in that mindset. But there's some days, and I'm sure you have these days too, where it's just like you're just not feeling it. Like
yep,
you just know you're not going to be productive, and some of those days I'll just not edit at all,
yeah,
uh, because you don't do your best work sometimes like that. But you've got to realized like you can't be doing that all the time. Like
Yeah,
you gotta find a way to get
100%.
yourself out of that mindset. And for me, like the gym is kind of a place where I go to kind of it'll reset me.
Yeah.
So, like if I go to the gym early in the morning, I'll come home, get a shower, eat breakfast, and then dive into editing. And my
Yeah.
brain's going. So that
Hmm.
helps a lot too.
Yeah. No, that's one thing that, especially over the last year, like with the baby and like my schedule during the day has completely changed.
Right.
So it's been another like learning curve almost that I've had to go through to really try to figure out creatively how I can get into that flow state and stay in it enough to crank out good chunks of what I need to get done. But like, dude, I need a clean office. I need nothing else on. Like, if I'm really trying to pump out an edit, I need a clean office. I need no clutter around me. I need it to be like the only thing that I got on my plate almost, with nothing else to do that day. If I really like, am trying to focus on it, and like that,
Yeah.
if I don't have, and I need to start like first thing in the morning. Like if I got something else going on in the morning that I got to be at, and then I try to get into that zone, I know it's just not going to happen. And even then, like by like 1 to 3 o'clock, I know I start to like taper off, and I need to be doing something else because like creatively I'm just spent. So
Right.
that's kind of like my little formula. And same thing as you. Like I'll maybe start my day with getting inspiration from other sources, like watch
Mhm.
some watch a documentary episode intro or something, or watch a couple YouTube videos, and whether it's in the fishing space or wherever, and try to get into that headspace. And maybe you pull a little nugget that you're like, oh damn, that'd be cool if I used the footage to create something similar. So I do
Yeah.
the same thing.
Sometimes I watch stuff like even in the fishing industry sometimes and it's like it kind of hypes me up a little bit. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, yeah, I want to go like I know what footage we have. I'm like, yeah, I want to go make something sick like that. Or
yeah,
I don't know. It changes so much sometimes and I don't know. It's
yeah.
kind of interesting to think about. But I I'm lucky I think in the fact that I have like a very photographic memory. So when I
Okay.
pass through my timeline,
Yeah,
I know what I have and I won't forget it.
yeah.
It's it's really interesting. So
Like Rain Man type shit or what?
no, I don't think it's that much. Like I can remember stuff pretty well for the most part too. Like just in general, like stuff like where I put stuff around the house or where I see Scott put something. He was
Yeah,
always asking me for stuff. It's I think that helps me a lot in the editing process and filming as well. A thing that I think is a good little nugget for anyone trying to get into like not even the outdoor industry, but just filming in general, if whether it be for YouTube or TV. Obviously, you have to do it for TV, but Scott and I always talk about you have to edit while you're filming.
yeah,
So, and I know you know that because you're in it and like you
yeah.
have to know that, but you just have to build that story in your head. Be like, okay, I need this shot. This would complement this. It's an establishing shot, but edit everything while you're filming. It just helps out so much.
Oh yeah,
That's what I think. Some of the people that are starting out, it's their biggest downfall is they don't think about that.
yeah.
Once they get that in their head, it works.
Are you taking, maybe not physical notes, but are you taking mental notes like throughout a shooting day where you're like trying to think of story?
Mhm.
And if something comes up, like for example, one thing throughout this whole season, there was like three different storylines, but one of them, for example, was like Logan Latuso. He was fighting to keep his Elite Series career alive. He needed to stay in the top 70 in AOI points so he wouldn't get judged to potentially get cut from the elites.
Right.
So that was like a storyline that kind of evolved throughout the season. But almost like every day that we'd be shooting, something would happen. Like if he had a big day, then I'd mentally be like, okay, I need to ask him, like, dude, where does this put you in terms of points? Like, where do you have to finish at the end of this tournament to get up there? And like, how are you feeling? How, like, mentally, what's going through your mind? Like little things like that. Like, do you focus on story and take those notes?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sometimes I'll do that, or most of the time I will. But most of the time, like if the same instance was with like Matt or Scott Canterbury, they're thinking about that all the time. So if you just get them to talk,
Yeah.
we'll end up like saying stuff that'll follow that storyline.
Yeah.
But I think a good thing, like at the beginning of the video, is to somehow get them to establish that storyline, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's also something for YouTube too. Is like if you can establish that for the viewer, it's something for them to kind of follow,
Yeah.
and it keeps them around because that's a big thing with the algorithm is watch time, like percentage of watch time.
Yeah.
The longer each person watches it and stays interested, the more YouTube's like, okay, people like this, let's push it to another group of people and another
Yeah.
group of people. So I think that's something that helps us a lot, and I don't know if it's just naturally happened or what it is, but people tend to watch our stuff pretty like pretty long. They stay engaged, and that's just with pacing and the whole edit and everything. I think.
Is that something that you've broken down and like analyzed and applied, like something like Mr. Beast level, where they're literally studying it, or is it
Definitely
just?
not Mr. Beast level, but like
Yeah.
we've thought about it. We're conscious of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for me, when I'm editing, it's just a natural feel. Like if I were
Yeah.
the viewer, I kind of step back a little bit sometimes. Like, okay, this is kind of long and drawn out. I need to cut this down, so
Yeah.
the viewer doesn't be like, okay, what else can I watch because I'm bored.
Yeah.
I do it too. I do it when I'm watching videos. I just
Yeah.
get bored, and obviously that YouTube knows
Yeah. Exactly.
that content. So I think that's a kind of another little nugget that I didn't think of earlier.
Well, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm about to take those nuggets, dude, and hopefully help grow what we got going for Lee, because
Yeah.
I think the trajectory's good for it, and we want it to reach its potential. So appreciate you diving into that a little bit. And
Problem.
I know we've gone into like 2 hours here, just like
I
that.
know. I was looking at that. I'm like 2 hours. Oh my gosh.
Dude, it's
Feels like
crazy.
it really hasn't felt that long.
Oh damn, I just
it's been great.
shook this whole thing. Well, no, I appreciate you coming on, dude, and
Yeah.
kind of being my guinea pig with this, because who knows? Maybe this wasn't recording the whole time. It looks like it did.
I
We'll
think
see.
it's a little record button there, but maybe not.
Well-
If not, then just have to
We'll
do
s-
it again.
We'll see, man. But I'm looking forward to getting back together with the gang of guys in whatever 4+ weeks here, and
Yeah.
getting back after it on the road. So,
Maybe go out and find us a Mama D.
dude, I wasn't there for any of
Not out there?
any of those bar nights. No,
The camera guy's late to get rowdy. That's for sure.
I know.
Oh man.
Hopefully, we'll be able to do something at the Classic or whatever this year.
Yep.
Because any of the tournament days, dude, like
It's impossible. Those
it's
options are the
so
best.
tough. Like even though days that a lot of the guys got together, whatever, a couple times last year, it's like me selfishly, I know like I need to be at the house like capturing whatever's happening, because I didn't get out on the water for practice or whatever. So I knew I had some gaps that I need to fill. But anyways, we'll make something happen at the Classic to get the guys together.
For sure. That'd be great.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
hopefully the rest of the move goes well, man. And
Yeah.
happy belated birthday again.
Thank you. Yeah. Had it yesterday, so it was good. I had a good time being around
Good
family and
s-
stuff.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll see you in a few weeks, and thanks
Yeah.
for coming on.
Appreciate you having me on. It's been great.
Yeah, dude. All right. Bye, everybody.